Hello and welcome back to the Puncher's Chance podcast, and welcome back to the review show where we have a look back at everything that's happened in the last week in boxing. That is, of course, this week Shakur Stevenson versus William Zepeda, and the rest of that card, Hamzah Sheeraz, Berlanga, Puello Matias and more. And of course, the undisputed fight between Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano on Netflix. All that good stuff. So subscribe for 2 podcasts every week and a big preview show later in the week. So stick around for that. Straight into the action. Shakur Stevenson, Zepeda. They found a way to make Shakur Stevenson entertaining, haven't they? They've done it.
I was going to say, to be fair, he's had a lot of slack, especially off us. And well, you look at some of the comments that we've had on Shakur Stevenson posts. We apparently hate him, but I give some respect to him last week. I said he's a very good fighter. Doesn't necessarily mean people have to find him entertaining, but to be fair, I think Zepeda and his style of fighting brought a bit more entertainment, and if anything, I think it showed how good Shakur Stevenson is. Yeah,
absolutely. It showed the levels, like the way he wasn't on his bike the whole fight, in the sense of just running like we saw in the De Los Santos fight. He was in the pocket, he was slipping shots. His defense is textbook, and I know he got caught a decent amount, but you know, when you look at the sheer amount of punches that Zepeda was throwing, a couple of those are going to get through. But then afterwards, it was the 3-4 shot combinations, proper snapping Zepeda's head back. And obviously, he's going to keep on coming. But yeah, I was really impressed with Shakur Stevenson. But also, actually, I think Zepeda was probably slightly better than I thought he'd be.
Yeah, I think Shakur dealt with him very well. I think it was kind of how I expected the fight to go, even though I was hoping it would maybe turn into a bit more of a sort of dog fight at points. But yeah, like you said, he spent a lot of the time sort of back to the ropes, and I think some people would look at that thinking, oh, Zepeda's just all over him all around the ring, but he just weren't landing anything of major significance. I think he landed one half decent shot, but I think Shakur come out and said afterwards it was just he slipped.
Yeah, he did. He caught him kind of trying to throw one, and he caught him off balance a little bit, and it looked like he kind of wobbled him, but he didn't. He just kind of took it in him. It was weird. I think I didn't watch it live, and I saw reaction online. A lot of people had it like 7-5, had it like 5-5 going in through 10, and I was like, oh wow, like Zepeda's done really well. Let me watch this. I was watching it through, and I was like, okay, yeah, he's maybe won that round. Okay, he's done all right there. But I just don't think in every round, or most of the rounds, he just wasn't quite good enough to say, yeah, you get that round. And I think the scorecard is fair, but maybe doesn't paint a picture of how competitive a fight it was from Zepeda. I think he looked better than the scorecard suggests.
Yeah, possibly. But I don't think he gave Shakur Stevenson enough to worry about. No. I think a lot of the punches he was throwing, I think it's down very much to the style of Zepeda's fight. The way he fights, he's very consistent in the way he throws punches. A lot of his punches are just sort of straight to the body, like straight hook. Like there was no hooks, no sort of variation, wasn't coming at different angles, and I think that just made it easier, if anything, for Stevenson to sort of figure out. He was like blocking a lot of shots, and then, like you said, he'd slip out, he'd land his combinations, and that's where he's winning the fight. It's not weren't necessarily like he was beating Zepeda up, hurting him really badly, but that's what you come to expect with Shakur Stevenson, and also with obviously the damage that he's sustained to his hands. I don't think he's necessarily in a position where he can let his hands go, because if he throws a massive punch and something happens, and then there's nothing much you can do in the fight, then you become a bit pillow-fisted, I suppose.
Yeah, the last thing you'd want to be in is with William Zepeda, who's not going to stop throwing, and you don't have anything to stop him with. Like, that is nightmare fuel. Yeah, I just think, like we kind of said, he was so textbook defensively, so good, but also actually, in order to absorb some of that damage, particularly to the body that William Zepeda threw at him, and the pace of the fight, it was a high tempo fight, and that was obviously set by Zepeda rather than Shakur. And if Shakur had his way, he'd want it a bit slower. But he was blowing at times. He was knackered. But he dug deep and he did what he had to do, and he was a step above. With that, Zepeda, where does he stand now? Do you think? Because I kind of came off the back of that saying, yeah, he lost to Shakur, but actually, that performance gives me a lot more hope going into other world title fights than I had off the back of that Tevin Farmer fight.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to look at it too much in it because Shakur Stevenson's at such a level and such a high boxing IQ that he dealt with Zepeda way better than probably 99% of the fighters in that weight class are going to. It's like, it's one thing saying that you can deal with that sort of constant pressure that Zepeda offers, but actually doing it is another thing. Was he 33-0?
Yeah.
Going into the weekend, so 33 other fighters have tried to deal with that consistent output and have failed, and it's only when he's come up against someone that is, well, many regard Shakur Stevenson as possibly the most elite boxer we've got at the moment in terms of active fighters. I don't think there's many that you could probably, and this is us giving him the credit, not just slagging him off for being a bit boring, but yeah, like, I don't think there is many fighters out there that you could say are at his level skill-wise and boxing IQ-wise.
Nah, absolutely not. And do you know what? If we can say one thing boring-wise, there's one thing more boring than what Shakur Stevenson does, and that's what Tank Davis does, which is not fight any of the big fighters. You know, I saw comments on Twitter of going, imagine what Tank Davis would do to Shakur if he had him up against the ropes. What do you mean imagine? He's not going to do it. Like,
No.
you know, we don't need to imagine it. Just actually accept the fight. And obviously there's some other allegations and stuff that probably prevents that ever
he's
happening.
been involved in the wrong type of fights.
He's landed a few punches that he shouldn't have done, it seems like. So we'll see what happened with him. But I think the one man who stole the show on Saturday night or Sunday morning for us was Hamzah Sheeraz. And I know we're saying that as Brits and it feels wrong, or it feels kind of biased, but he genuinely did steal the show. That was a phenomenal statement performance from him.
Yeah, I think he bullied the bully, really, didn't he? And
Big time.
I don't think I didn't necessarily think he'd deal with it as good as he did. I think I listened to a little bit this morning about Andy Lee speaking about it, and he said the first round was kind of a little bit cagey, but it's what you come to expect, and especially going into a fight where he was under a lot of pressure coming off that Adames fight, where I think everyone agrees he was lucky enough to come up with a draw.
He looked dreadful in that fight.
Yeah, so it was a lot of pressure going into this fight, but I think he looked quite calm, quite composed throughout fight week, which is, I think, again, difficult to do when you're coming up against someone like Berlanga, who was doing all the fight week antics, not only with Sheeraz, but everyone else at the sort of top table as well. But I think he dealt absolutely brilliantly with it. He blasted him out there. He looked like he looked like the Sheeraz who was doing this to opponents that probably weren't at his level maybe 2 to 3 years ago when we were first sort of really hyping his name up, and now he's doing it against someone who, like, look at it, he's only been beaten by Canelo, and Canelo didn't do that to Berlanga. Like,
yeah,
it was very impressive.
Yeah, and I think, you know, when you look at, like you say, that run, and I think that even includes the likes of, you know, Liam Williams and Tyler Denny to a huge extent, guys that he was just blasting out of there with ease. But when you look at the progression, someone like Ammo Williams, you'd say he's probably at a similar level to Berlanga, sort of periphery world title, challenger, a decent fighter, quality, good enough to cause people problems on their day, but not necessarily an out-and-out champ that's going to be defending titles. It took him a lot longer to break down Ammo Williams. Mm-hmm. Edgar Berlanga's a tough bugger, and he just put him out there. He has such a bizarre strength, and the way he throws punches really long and straight, which is what he was doing against Adames, but actually he was coming in and throwing those little short, sharp jabs, and that uppercut he landed 3 or 4 times. That was the difference. He was letting his hands go. He was putting in the work, and he was more physical than a guy whose weight he was stepping up to.
Yeah, I think that's what we spoke about in the preview last week. I've always thought Sheeraz has got a very good jab, but sometimes it felt like he didn't want to, or maybe didn't trust his power enough coming behind that. Whereas now I think we've seen the Andy Lee effect of he's not only setting up nicely with that jab, but he was spiteful with every punch he was throwing, whether it was the backhand or whether it was like them short uppercuts. He was putting everything behind them and trusting that he was going to get the job done. And yeah, like I alluded to earlier, the first round was a bit cagey, like you said, but Andy Lee said he come back to the corner at the end of that first round. He said, I can hunt him down. And Andy Lee just said, go and do it then. Like,
off you pop.
Yeah, just trusted him to just, you've got a beating of him. Go and show people what you've been sort of working on over these last few months. And to be fair to him, he more than done that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've said it. We said it once with Ben Whittaker. We said it with Joseph Parker. And I said it in our 100th special about how Andy Lee, I think, is the best coach in boxing in terms of the way he gets the best out of great fighters. He turns good and great boxers into world title challengers and world title winners because he just gives them the best of what they have. And it was similar to what we saw with Ben Davison and Anthony Joshua, able to get him back punching the way that Anthony Joshua should be punching. Anthony Joshua, Hamzah Sheeraz should be doing that to people because he's big, he's strong, and now at super middleweight when he's not, God knows how he ever made middleweight, but he's got everything he needs now. And, big fair play to Andy Lee. I know he probably won't want to take the credit for it because Sheeraz will still have to put in the work, but he deserves it.
I think you've got to say Andy Lee at the minute's got the magic touch. Like, it sort of started with Joseph Parker was seen as the outsider in the heavyweight division and is now a serious title contender, and people are sort of
spanked Bacoli out there.
Yeah, and people are sort of working their way. Well, the fight coming up this weekend has sort of been
avoided him.
Yeah, you've got Ben Whittaker, like you said, was seen as a bit of a joke to many after what happened out in Saudi Arabia. Come back, blasted Liam Cameron out in a round. Shiraz now has struggled against the Dharma, has come back, blasted out Berlanga. And then even you've got fighters like, even when he's got fighters like Paddy Donovan who get disqualified, they end up with a world title shot in their next fight anyway. So,
and not to mention the fact that for all except for the 2 seconds after the bell rang,
and he was
absolutely on top, cruise control, battering Lewis Crocker in that fight. So fair play to him. Elsewhere on the card, Alberto Puello versus Subriel Matias. Now, I've got a little bone to pick with you two for the last podcast because I think you sold Matias quite short after the Paro performance. Maybe did you back him?
I had Matias winning mine. I was 5 for 5 this week.
It was just
lucky Boxing News and dropped a game on the app, or I'd be flying.
You'd be flying. But the problem I had with it was you labelled him a little bit as a kind of a one-punch knockout artist, but the pressure he puts on fighters, and we didn't see it in the Paro fight because Paro was so in and out of range and so light on his feet and just not sitting into shots at all. But I was impressed with him. It was a close fight and it was a close decision.
Yeah, it was very close.
Through the mid-rounds, I kind of thought he was starting to turn up the pace and he might start to walk away with it a little bit. And then Puello showed some brilliant heart, stayed in there, gave the judges a decision to make. I've got absolutely no complaints with the decision they made. I think I had it probably about 115, 113 to Matias. But Dalton Smith next as well.
That's I don't think even Eddie Earn was expecting. I think
or Dalton Smith, they were
they were caught on. You sort of just get in the ring. This is your fight, sort of deal. They didn't have much time to sort of think really, by the looks of it. But yeah, like you said, really close fight. We probably didn't give Matias the sort of credit he deserves in terms of his skill level, but I thought it was really close between the two of them. I think it's the kind of fight and kind of style matchup where sometimes it depends on what you like from your fighter, and that's who you chose as the winner on the weekend. But
the note I made was it was a perfect warm-up for the main event. Style-wise, in terms of Shakur Stevenson and Zepeda, it was two fighters out of the same stance. One's going to be putting on the pressure, one's going to be on the back foot more, one's going to be probably slightly more skillful than the other, but one's maybe slightly more dangerous than the other. And it was that kind of thing. And this one was obviously a lot closer because I think the skill gap was less. But it was a nice little kind of taster for what we were to come. Yeah,
it was pretty much similar sort of fighting styles, but I think Matias could be a very difficult opponent for Dalton Smith. That's a big jump, I think.
Yeah, what worries me a little bit with that as well is style-wise, Dalton Smith does like to sit in on those shots. And he likes to lay into opponents, and we saw with Paro that there is a little bit of a blueprint to beat Matias if you can be really quick on your feet and really in and out and a very amateur style. Dalton Smith's not going to do that, is he?
Yeah, so I'm thinking he's going to get dragged into a scrap, and that plays into Matias's wheelhouse, and that's where he's going to be comfortable.
be a belter of a fight in it.
That
November card.
I don't think it'll last very long.
When you look at that November card, you've got, Sam Noakes and Abdullah Mason, which I think will be a great fight regardless. You've got Devin Haney, Brian Norman Jr., which I think will be a great fight regardless. You've got this one on there now, and I think there is another
Yard fight.
Yeah, game Anthony Yard, if nothing else. You certainly can't say that he's not going to come and give that a damn good go. And weirdly, he's looked his best against his hardest opponent. So, yeah, that was great. And I think a perfect example, that fight, and the fight below it as well, and the two fights above it, of good matchmaking.
Yeah, I think it was a really good card top to bottom, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
very competitive fights, and it was a bit of a mixed bag of fights as well. Like something for everyone sort of style, I think.
Yeah, it was. I think not for the first time, but it doesn't always happen. But all the fights delivered in the ring as they did on paper. When you look at them on the card, you go, "That's a good fight. That's a good fight. That's a good fight. That's a good fight." And that's a good prospect. I'm excited to see all of that. And it very rarely does it actually deliver. So much in the preview shows do we go, what a weekend of boxing. And less often do we say it in the review shows. But this weekend, we can genuinely say, what a weekend of boxing.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I was going to say you could probably say it about the other main event that we're going to come on to. But in terms of this, I think when you've got a Shakur Stevenson fight that pleased the fans, then I don't think
it's God's work.
Yeah,
Allah, sorry.
You can't really complain at that point, I don't think.
No, that is a miracle. That is seriously special. And then David Morrell, Iman Katayev was a really exciting fight, really close fight. Feels odd with the news that came out.
I was going to say, should it even be happening?
Should it have happened? But
it's all right though, because he failed on steroids in amateur competition. So when they start fighting as professionals,
well, they were amateur steroids. They weren't not those professional steroids that the pros take. It's just amateur steroids. A bit more light on their feet. They're not quite the same. Weird. It's just every boxing never fails to disappoint.
When was it as well? It was like
Wednesday or something, or Tuesday.
No, but like early 2024, he failed.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
so they've just decided to drop it fight week. Like, oh, by the way, he failed a drug test about a year ago.
That is mental. Like, that's not how that works. But thankfully, Morrell got through it.
It was close again, mind.
Close, and I think Morrell can be lucky on this one. Off the back of his last two performances, I don't think he's been that impressive.
No, but I did say last week I felt like Morrell. Well, his only one defeat comes against Benavidez, and he dropped Benavidez in that fight.
Yeah.
And Benavidez is one of the fighters that people avoid at the minute.
Yeah.
And I thought Katayev, I can remember watching Katayev in the fight he had in Australia and on a undercard for...
It's the 8-rounder he done.
Jai Opataya, and he bangs, but he reminds me of when you're fighting on Undisputed and you use all your power punches in one go.
Yeah.
Because he just burns out so quick.
He's like a better BF without the tank.
Yeah, he's got no engine. Yeah. So once he like fucking lays into you, and he's like, right, I need a minute to recover.
Yeah, he's got a big V10 engine, but he's got a very small fuel tank. So it's just like, you get halfway down the motorway and
That's why I went for Morrell on my prediction, because I thought... Because Morrell can bang as well. He probably can't hit quite as hard, but he can definitely hit, and he's got a bit of a better engine. So I thought he'd just outwork him and probably outland him over the course of the 10 rounds, and that's maybe where he might have nicked it. But with the knockdown as well, can't really argue giving it the other way. But
yeah, it was close, and I wouldn't say it's a robbery. I think he can consider himself slightly lucky. I don't think you could say he won 7 rounds. Or it's difficult to say he won that many rounds, but equally, it's a tough one to score. And quickly, before we move on to I'm like on the edge of my seat to talk about the next one. Reito Sutsumi I thought was really good as well. I love when a prospect finishes them with a body shot.
Yeah.
It's just I like
the body shots were brutal.
I don't know why I like it, but I do. I'm like when they finish him with a body shot, I'm like, yeah, you're the real deal.
Well, it was like he caught him with like a left hook to the body that hurt him first, and you've seen him like scurry back to the corner. And I think he was so worried about another one going to the left, he forgot about his right side, so he just went and whacked him the other side as well. He was done after that, but I think he looked a lot better than, and I think he admitted it himself, a lot better than his debut, which he done. Me and Harry spoke about it last week, the fight in New York, and I just said, like, I think you can put that down to that card just being horrific.
But also, like, you're making your pro debut on the biggest stage in, you know, the maddest venue. Like, the pressure on your shoulders there, that you're going to be tense. You're not going to be. And I think now he's got that out of the way with that one. He just kind of looked comfortable, tidy, and yeah, he done the job he needed to do. And for the third time, Katie Taylor has done the job she needed to do, and this time she did it, you know, pretty, not easily. Easily seems like the wrong word, but certainly more comfortably than the other few.
I think it was the easiest one to judge. I think
Easiest
this is
one to score, yeah.
Yeah, I think this was, but I think Serrano just played completely into Katie Taylor's hands.
Do you think there was a sense that Serrano almost expected another war?
I think, I think
Katie Taylor kind of went, nah, actually, I'm just going to box you.
I don't know. I think Serrano tried to avoid it. And
Yeah.
I think that's what was the downfall. The first two fights, and I found, I'll be honest, I stayed up and watched it. I found it underwhelming, considering the first two. But I think Serrano went from, she looked at the first two and thought I was in an absolute war with her. She was maybe leading with her head a bit too much and I got cut badly.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to try and take a different route and I'm going to stay on the outside. But just completely play, like, you're not going to outbox Katie Taylor. Like, it's not going to happen. Like, I thought her best chance was making it a firefight like the first two were. But Katie Taylor was just sort of, yeah, like she couldn't really land anything significant on her. Katie Taylor was catching her, the left hook, how many times, I don't know, I counted just a clean left hook. And then as soon as she landed there, she was shuffling out of there and she was out of danger. So I had Katie Taylor winning. I think I had a 97, 93, or you could have had a 97, 94 if you give the first round as a draw. But I felt it was the easiest to score. But I also, when they were getting ready to read the scores, I was like, this is going to Serrano now.
95-95 is mental work.
Yeah,
There's no way that's ever a draw. I agree. I had a 97-94 because I did have that first round as a draw because just nothing was thrown. Neither fighter deserved to win that round.
It felt like, I don't know whether it was a feeling of maybe like because it was so much riding on it, both didn't want to lose, but also they've had the biggest payday of their lives.
Three times in a row.
Is there a sense of they were like, you know what, I'm getting paid loads here. I don't need to fucking, I've already got the money. We've got this night.
Yeah.
I don't need to go in there and come out with cuts and
yeah, no, it was yeah, not the same fight, not anywhere near as entertaining.
It was a great night, like in terms of the spectacle and
yeah, and it was deserving. I'm happy not just because I prefer Katie Taylor and because she's a Leeds fan and all of this, that I'm happy she won that fight because she deserved it. She won the first two and the narrative, like Amanda Serrano in Fight Week, and this is no kind of, I don't want to make this a anti Amanda Serrano because she's done unbelievably well, but the whole, you only lose if you think you lost. It's not really true. If you have lost twice.
Yeah.
And you might not feel like you've lost, but you have lost twice and you lost a third time now. You know, Katie Taylor, there shouldn't have really been a third fight. She won the first two, but it's the best payday. The fight was made, and I think it is time for both fighters to walk away from the sport richer than they probably ever would have thought they would have done. Their stock's at the highest they're ever going to be, and having made history for not even just women's boxing, but a piece of boxing history. Those three fights, one of them at least, will be remembered forevermore as one of the big special fights of boxing.
Yeah, well, I think, did they have two fights? The first two fights were both fight of the year, weren't they?
And if they weren't, they were robbed.
They were close to winning it, at least. But yeah, I think maybe it was the case of, because the first two were so good, we were sat here last week and we kind of jinxed it a bit. We said, like, there's no way it can't be good, but yeah, it wasn't the greatest of fights, but it was a night I think both really deserved for everything they've given to the sport of boxing, and I don't know whether that might be the last time we ever see them in a ring, and it is still very much a very good way for both of them to go out if they do decide to hang up the gloves after that, because it is an historic night, and like you said, it will go down in history, people can always look back at that and what they've achieved, and you can't take that away from them.
Yeah, absolutely. And without naming she who shall not be named, Katie Taylor, best female fighter of all time?
I don't even think there's an argument. Like, there is no one that comes close.
No. And the one woman who believes she comes close or believes there's no evidence for that. The
she
evidence
hasn't
is
fought
there.
anyone at nowhere near the same level.
That garners the
and
same
I know you
respect.
can only fight what's put in front of you, but I've watched both fight, and I can tell you for sure who I preferred watching.
Yeah. I just think Katie Taylor, what she's done is phenomenal. And these 3 wins, you know, they were not done on her terms, even though she was the champion. She had to go because of the money to New York on Amanda Serrano's card on Netflix, you know, with Jake Paul yapping in her ear, and she had to do the business, and she did it again. Yeah, and you compare that to moving up to heavyweight, to go undisputed at heavyweight when there's half a dozen people at heavyweight and neither of them or none of them are all that good. It's not a conversation.
I have got a question for you though.
Okay.
There was another fighter on this card that we'll probably get to. Another fighter that Katie Taylor could have a potential trilogy with. If that trilogy does happen, is that better than the Serrano trilogy? When you look at the fights overall and the fact they actually won one.
No.
Do you not think so?
Because I think Chantal Cameron's stock has dropped too far. And I just don't think she has... Yeah, she is a great boxer, and she probably... You know, I think she'd give Amanda Serrano a great run for her money. I think those would be great fights. But I just think that stature-wise and the position they both hold within the division and within women's boxing, you know, undoubtedly that is 2 of the top 3 of women's boxing currently in the last 10 years. And they were fought each other 3 times, and 2 of the 3 fights were phenomenal watches. I think, I think it wouldn't eclipse it, but it might actually be a better fight on paper. But it just as an event and as a...
I just think it technically comes across as a better trilogy because one of them would be 2-1 instead of 3-0.
Yeah, but if you had to sit and watch... Obviously, we don't know what's happened in the third fight, but if you had to sit and watch all 3 in one sitting, no breaks, which one are you picking?
I don't know, because I think a third one between Katie Taylor and... If they were to do the trilogy, Katie Taylor and Chantal Cameron, that third fight's going to be better than that third fight that they just had.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean...
It is difficult. But
If Paddy Donovan can get his hands on a world title, an IBF world title somewhere in like the 3 Arena or even the Aviva Stadium, Croke Park's not happening. As much as people want it, I don't think that the Irish government want it, but also I just don't think Katie Taylor quite has the pull to sell out that big a stadium. It is phenomenally big, but also I just think you'd lose a bit of it in there. I think in the Aviva, those 2 on the main event, if Paddy Donovan wins with the world title, Katie Taylor wins undisputed, maybe that Chantal Cameron fight, that would be great. But if
would
not,
be a good last fight to go out on.
If not, I want to see Katie Taylor in the Aviva when Leeds play Milan, and I'm not just saying that because I'm there, but she deserves her lap of honour because she is the greatest woman of all time. If you're still listening, if you've unblocked us, Mrs. Shields. Now I'm going to be honest, I haven't had a chance to catch up too much on the rest of the fights because my laptop's been broken all weekend. So
shall I do a Harry special and run through
proper rattle them out? Yeah. Get as many talking points as you can.
Tam Thibault started the night, thought was very good, one of the best performances of the night. Ramla Ali, I think, was quite lucky and was openly called out on the broadcast by
Ariel Helwani.
Yeah, he basically said you didn't win, which I felt was a bit harsh considering the sort of the
I like it.
Yeah, I do, but like I was thinking, like she just won on a big all-female card. I was like, give her 5 minutes to have a moment.
Yeah,
before
but
if
there's anything Ariel Helwani doesn't have, it's the thought of just being a little bit, conscientious in that moment. He'll say what he thinks, and I like it. I think it's good.
Yeah, Chantal Cameron possibly have set up that trilogy, like we said. I don't know whether Katie Taylor's interested in it, but I'd like to see it against Jessica Camara. Good win. Ellie Scottney, best performance of the night. She is probably the best female fighter I'd say that the UK has. possibly.
Better than Lauren Price?
It'd be close.
She's without a doubt the best that England's got.
Yeah, England.
Kate
Maybe
Taylor
not,
possibly better Ireland. Lauren Price possibly better Welsh, but yeah.
Yeah, she's not probably not as good as Lauren Price, but she is. Yeah, I'll give you England's best. Who else have we got? Shanika Johnson again was brilliant. I felt that was the one. Yeah, the stoppage was weird. I don't know if you've seen the stoppage, but
I haven't. No.
Yeah, watch it back. But Metcalf was fuming because the referee basically just come over and said, "I don't like the way you look after you're taking punches." And she went, "What the?"
Personal?
She was like, "What are you on about? I'm fine." And then he went, "No, I'm stopping it." And she was like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah,
like it was watch it back. It was a bit of a weird sort of ending to it, but I think it was a fight where Johnson was winning quite comfortably, but still, it was a bit of a strange one.
Because I think Sharetta Metcalf's one of the ones that MVP have signed. They're one of their own fighters.
She might have been, yeah. So, but she's got a pretty cool story in terms of where she's built herself up from, and to fight at Madison Square Garden and on that card is like spectacular in itself. And I'm sure she'll obviously be hurting from the defeat, but will be very proud in time looking back at what she achieved. Savannah Marshall, bit of a nightmare with her return. Obviously, she was trying to line up a fight with your good mate, Clarissa Shields, but doesn't look like that's happening now. That is a fight maybe that I think some people were saying could have gone either way, but Shadisha Green probably deserved it. And then Baumgartner as well, impressive again. She is really good. People tend to look past the fact that she just cleared herself of a drug scandal of a way, but
it's a bit mad that
nothing has come of it since. So I suppose everyone's just got to look past it. And she was
just trust me.
Yeah,
I didn't do it. Trust me.
Maybe it was the amateur ones again. But
yeah, she took those amateur roids there. There's no point really.
But yeah, it was a really good card. I thought, like some really entertaining fights, and the main event didn't quite live up. In terms of the fight itself, didn't quite live up to expectations.
But the event held up in terms of as a spectacle. The two,
it was really good.
And do you know what? I really like the fact that all fights were in New York this weekend. In terms of
it was
that,
busy. I
can imagine if you were there, that would have just been. It would have had such a kind of magical feeling about it that whole weekend. And also, right back to it, the venue for the Louis Armstrong?
Yeah, the tennis.
It looks so cool.
Yeah,
I love it when they. I mean, imagine a fight centre court Wimbledon. Imagine that,
it would be pretty sick.
It's 15,000 seater, but just like a tennis,
it just holds atmosphere really well. Doesn't it?
It just makes sense because a tennis court, albeit bigger than a boxing ring slightly, but by the time you put the people around it and stuff, they're not that dissimilar asides. Like it looked good. It looked cool.
We're gonna have to give credit to Jake Paul as well.
Do we?
Putting on to be fair to him, it is kind of his business, isn't it? MVP. He put on a very good a good show.
Yeah, I got a lot
in Madison Square Garden, historic.
Yeah, I just don't like him though. Just don't fancy.
Yeah, I'm giving him his credit.
It's a good fight. It was a good card. He's paid the girls more money than they probably ever would have earned elsewhere, and a lot of respect to him for that, and a lot of respect for what they do.
He was just missing one fighter.
Yeah, Elizabeth Shoba, she's not on there. You just don't fancy putting her on there. Don't know why. But yeah, no. In terms of that, massive respect. But it's just annoying to give him credit. I don't like it. It feels a bit dirty. It feels
we're done
wrong.
now.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just something wrong about it.
He's a shit boxer.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes. And yeah, I mean, it's a good weekend of boxing. I think that pretty much wraps it up. And do you know what? All good for it, because I'm really looking forward to the preview for Big Daddy Daniel Dubois against Alexander Usyk in Wembley Stadium. If you haven't already, check out my interview I've done with Daniel Dubois. I'm shamelessly plugging it. Don't watch the final 3 or 4 seconds because those are a little bit embarrassing. But other than that, I think it was a decent enough interview, and it's Daniel Dubois. So check it out. Other than that, obviously all our social medias as always: Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, all that good stuff. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you all later in the week.
Punches chance. Punches Chance Podcast.